All right, so welcome to another fanfiction idea that was voted on over on Patreon, and this one kind of shockingly won by a landslide, and that is a crossover between The Mummy and Hellraiser. As always, if you guys like to be part of these Patreon polls, as well as Q&A announcements, which I will have one out soon, I'm going to be posting the next Q&A topic later tonight, give or take. So if you want to be part of that, just hit the link in the description box below. Head on over to my Patreon, hit the first tier. That'll allow you access to do so from then on out. But anyway, so let's get started with this crossover. Now, for reference as to which Mummy movie, like what Mummy continuity we're going to be doing for this story, this one will focus on the 1932 Boris Karloff movie. Now, so yeah, we're not doing Brendan Fraser. We're doing, because it kind of fit more of the theme of what this story is, which is a straight up horror comic. I mean, horror story. So let's get started with the video. So the story begins in ancient Egypt, and this is set during like Imhotep's love affair with Anaxamun, and the two are, enjoying themselves, and that's when they're kind of having a low-key private meeting, shall we say, when Anaxamun has to go back to her royal duties as the priestess, and Imhotep is like going back to his home when he's met by one of his priests, and he's like, what are you doing here? And they're like, Lord Imhotep, the other priests and I have discovered something that may be of interest, that may be of interest to you. And he's like, okay, let me see it. So they show him the lament configuration. They show it to him, and Imhotep is like, he picks it up and he's like, what is this? And they're like, it was found by a merchant that was passing through from Kenya, and he said he got it from a man in the Middle East, in like Iraq. So it's been apparently passed around, but we don't know what it is, but we believe it has some kind of great power to it. And Imhotep is just like, I don't trust it. Lock this thing, get rid of it. We don't know what it is, and it could be defilement of the gods. And the priest gets a little cheeky and says, yes, and we wouldn't want to defy the will of the gods. And Imhotep looks at the guy like, no, repeat what you just said. Like, what, I'm sorry, did you just get mouthy to me, Imhotep, the high priest? So the lament configuration is put away. Now we cut to the aftermath of the 1932 film, and we have Frank with Helen, and the two, like, this is shortly thereafter, and they're kind of like planning on leaving Egypt to be all together. Like, they are just like, after everything that happened with Imhotep, it is just like, don't want to do this anymore. Like, Frank lost his father. They have lost friends, and Helen is kind of gone through a major traumatic event, so she is just like kind of reeling from everything that has just occurred. She's still reeling from everything that just occurred. So what essentially happens is that while they're getting ready to leave, that's when the Egyptian government kind of steps in and is like, hey, so we have a lot of like murders that just happened, and you two are kind of tied to all this, so you're staying until we can figure this out between us and the British government. There has to be like questions and full on investigation, because a very esteemed professor, your father, Frank, has died, and you're not telling us you're not really giving us a reason as to why. So you will remain here as in custody, and will not return to England until the investigation is over, and also provided you and Miss Helen are proven innocent. So what happened, the following that happens is that, Frank and Helen are still like kind of are, they're forced to stay here when they basically are going through like all of, you know, Joseph, Frank's father's cataloged items. Maybe they could find something to help them like prove that they're innocent and also prove prove that Emotep was real. They can't use Emotep himself because that mummy turned to dust. So what they find, however, Helen discovers the lament configuration. It was apparent, like Frank's like, oh yeah, my father mentioned something like that. He basically said that um, he discovered it on a dig before they found the skeleton of Emotep. But he thought it was like some kind of like royal gem or something. But he left it be. So Helen started like she's like it looks almost like a puzzle box. Like it almost appears to be a sort of strange. It seems to be of some kind of like strange origin. So she starts messing with it, and she starts like she starts like messing with it because it's like, oh, I'm very good at puzzle. It seems like a puzzle box, so maybe if I discover what's inside of it, maybe we can figure out a mystery. At least one mystery can be solved. So Helen starts messing with it and unlocks it, opening the lament configuration and allowing Pinhead to come through. Now, keep in mind, this is 1932. Elliot Spencer didn't become Pinhead until 1916, until like a little post after World War One. So Pinhead is still new. He hasn't really achieved the Hell Priest status yet, but he is this first Cenobite to like come through. And he's still a young powerful Cenobite, and he's just like sees Frank and Helen, and he's like, the box, you opened it, we came, and they're just like, what in hell are you? And of course, he gives them the spiel of, angels to some, demons to others. But he's opened the box, and they're already like, they already like start ripping into Helen. But as Pinhead is, he like stops because he's like, your soul is interconnected like a tapestry. What is this? Because he just realized, oh, Helen has like she's like a reincarnation of Anaxinamun and has all these other past lives to her. So he's like curious about it, and Frank tries to go for him, and Frank just is like, bah. So he sends out like he's like, you are like reincarnation is an anomaly to our kind, but you, Frank Wemple, are coming with us. So they take Frank back to the labyrinth to be tortured and shit, whereas Helen is left alone. So she has to go find Professor Barman, Edward Van Sloan's character again, and tells him like, hey, so we opened this thing, and he's like, what did you do? Because he's like, I know arcane logic, and that's supposed to be a myth. Even by my standards, that is supposed to be a myth among mankind. And that shouldn't exist. So the professor explains that like about the lament configuration, and no one knows where it came from. It was first believed to be forged in like during the 1600s, and be like a doorway to like a hell dimension. And there's like no way to get there. And she's like, maybe there's a way we could find. Maybe there's someone who can go into the afterlife to help us get Frank back. And he's like, you are not suggesting what I think you're suggesting. And she's like, there has to be Emotep. Emotep could probably find a way to go there. And he's like, Emotep is dead. Like, he has been cursed we all saw him die. And she's like, maybe there's a way to resurrect him. So they have to, and she's like, please, for Frank's sake, we have to save him from those awful monsters. So the professor begrudgingly agrees, and they find a spell to bring back Emotep still in his mummy form, and he looks at her and he's like, Naxanamun. And she's like, no, my name is Helen, but we need your help. My fiance has been taken away to an afterlife by things called the Cenobites. And he's like, Cenobites? Those creatures were unholy in our land, and I put a stop to them before, so I shall do so again. So Emotep, using his magic, opens a gateway to the labyrinth, and the three of them go through. So along the way, they like encounter all the like horrible monsters, the engineer, all these other things that would make a person from the 1930s shit their pants or die of fright immediately. Whereas Emotep continues to like go further and further into the labyrinth until he meets Pinhead, and Emotep and Pinhead face each other, and he's like, "Lord Emotep, the high priest of the god Karnak. Your god is nothing compared to mine, Leviathan." And Emotep is like, "Shall we put that to the test?" So the two have a battle of Egyptian and hell magic, while the professor and Helen find Frank, who's all just torn to shit. He is just like skinned and almost like he's been poked and prodded for like what seems like he was only gone for like 5 hours, but for them it's like 5 years in the labyrinth. So as Emotep and Pinhead continue to do battle in the Hellverse, they manage to escape. Emotep keeps the portal open and closes it behind him while he continues to do battle with Emotep in the Gash, sealing it forever. But Frank and Helen are safe. Everyone's happy, but they're all traumatized. While the true fate of Emotep is unknown. So there you go, guys. That is pretty much the Hellraiser Mummy crossover. I want to thank everyone who voted on this. And yeah, if you guys want to be part of the next poll, just hit the link in the description box below, head on over to my Patreon and do so. But other than that, I'm Mr. Multiverse. See you next time in the Multiverse.